Hello, students. Greetings. So again, this is a continuation of our discussion. Our topic for today is very important. So this is regarding about Philhealth and is very relevant now because of the issues surrounding this commission. Okay, this is the Philippine Health Insurance Commission, and it's very important for doctors or students to learn about this because PhilHealth is considered to be the partner of medical practitioners and medical institution. Okay, so to begin, let's go to the PhilHealth website about us. So as reference, these are the enabling laws, okay? So these are the reason why there is a PhilHealth law. So these are the legal basis, RA 78, 75, and its implementing rules and regulation. So I have again downloaded this revised implementing rules and regulation of the National Health Insurance Act of 2013 in the PhilHealth website. Okay, this website. As you can observe, the topics or the discussions that I have imparted to you are based on the websites of the government or the, for example, the PRC, the World Medical Association, okay, the PhilHealth, because these are considered the standard and the basis. That is why I am also using these notes or PDFs. So let's end this. So let us discuss this law, the PhilHealth Act, considered to be the insurance of the Filipinos. So the revised implementing rules and regulation of the National Health Insurance Act of 2013. So the organic law is based on this one, RA 7875. These are the board of directors. We, we will just have a rundown because this PDF is very long. So first, let's discuss the history of PhilHealth. The National Health Insurance Program, or NHIP, administered by the Philippine Health Insurance Corporation, or PhilHealth, was established in 1995 with the passage of Republic Act, or RA 7875. This is the basis, okay, of the composition and the basis of the PhilHealth law. PhilHealth took over the Medicare functions previously administered by the Philippine Medical Care Commission, okay, PMCC, since 1972. PhilHealth's, PhilHealth's mandate is to provide health insurance coverage to all Filipinos. In 1997, it assumed Medicare functions for government workers from the Government Service Insurance System, or GSIS, and a year later for the private sector workers, which was previously administered by the Social Security System, or SSS. In the same year, PhilHealth started the Indigent Program in partnership with the local government units. PhilHealth has enrolled millions of families who otherwise have no access to health services. Since then, this program has been at the heart of PhilHealth's program and now forms bulk of membership. To date, all families in the DSWD's National Household Targeting System for Poverty Reduction are covered by Philhealth. For 2014, 14.7 million families are being enrolled through full national government subsidy. The provision of full national government subsidy was made possible by an amendment introduced in RA 1066, enacted into law in 2013. So, due to these laws, the indigent or the sector that is poor has been given coverage. In 1999, PhilHealth started covering self-employed and the informal sector, and in 2005, PhilHealth assumed Medicare functions from the Overseas Workers Welfare Administration or OWA for overseas Filipinos. Okay? So before, the coverage insurance has been handled by different government agencies. For government, GSIS; for private, SSS; for overseas Filipino workers, OWA, okay? But now, it has been consolidated, okay, through the PhilHealth program. Now, on its 19th year, PhilHealth has improved the way health services are delivered, financed, and regulated. It has introduced a primary and catastrophic benefit package as it had shifted to an all case rates system from previous inflationary and ineffective fee for service, which has been in place since Medicare. PhilHealth endeavors to cover the financing of every Filipino's health needs, from preventive, primary, to hospital care, including catastrophic conditions. Okay, right now, due to this pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, there is a program, okay, in order to assist Filipinos who were infected by the COVID-19. So it is called the COVID-19 package. With the kalusugang pangkalahatan as the overall sectoral agenda, PhilHealth is committed to ensure a coordinated and intensified effort towards its end goal of bawat Pilipino miyembro protektado, kalusugan natin sigurado. Okay? So this is the end goal of PhilHealth as an institution, that every Filipinos will be a member and every member will be protected, and such protection are insured. Now, let's go to the table of contents. So, title 1 is the guiding principles and objectives. Okay, so we will just make a rundown of this law. So, section 1, declaration of principles and the general objectives. And then title 2 is definition of terms. Okay, title 3, membership and contributions. Okay, so under this, rule 1 is the coverage, the objective of the institution, nature and scope, its function. And then rule 2, general provisions concerning all members. Under this rule, it talks about the PhilHealth identification number and health insurance ID card, okay, where all members are given. And then replacement of health insurance ID card in case of loss, requirements for registration of members and dependents. Okay, we will just choose important topics to discuss. And then emancipated individuals of single parents, remittance of premium contribution. Okay, because as a member you need to contribute based on your salary. And then rule 3, specific provisions concerning members in the formal economy. So it will discuss what is considered a formal economy, and registration of employers, employer data amendment and revision, obligations of employer, rates of premium contribution. So like what I've said, contribution is based on the salary of the member, and of course, the employer and the employee has a proportionate share. However, if you are indigent, there are exemptions to paying this premium. Okay, so for example, if you are an indigent, okay, or you are a senior citizen, and or you are a dependent, and so on and so forth, we will discuss that later on. Next, under this rule is the mandatory appropriation of premium contribution for government agency, and then payment of premium contributions. Okay, this will serve as the fund for Philhealth. And then remittance of premiums for employees with income gaps, and then premium contributions of the government and private sectors with multiple employment. So under Rule 4, specific provisions concerning kasambahays, okay, or house helpers. Rule 5, specific provisions concerning members in the informal economy, okay. In this rule, we will discuss who are considered to be part of the informal economy. Rule number 6, specific provisions concerning indigents, okay. When indigents are members of the urban poor, okay? They have no properties, they have no income. So that is why they are exempted in premium payment. We will discuss that further when we reach this rule. And then Rule 7, specific provisions concerning sponsored members. So who are the sponsored members will be discussed in this rule. Rule number 8, specific provisions concerning lifetime members. So when you say lifetime members, who are these members? Okay. When can you say that you are considered a lifetime member? Okay. For example, if you are a senior citizen, okay, we will discuss that when we reach that rule. And then 9, provision on making Philhealth a requisite for issuance, renewal, license, permits, and etc. Of course, Philhealth is mandatory. Okay? If a certain company does not provide Philhealth benefit to his employee, he can be prosecuted. Okay? He can be administratively liable. And then title number 4, benefits entitlements. So under this, we'll discuss about the benefit. Okay? It's very important to learn these benefits, especially if you are a member of Philhealth. And of course, if you are a doctor, it is important also to learn this so that you will know when to collect such payment. Rule 2, payment of claims. And then Title 5, quality assurance and accreditation. Okay? So, what are the requirements for hospitals or doctors to be accredited in Philhealth? So, we will discuss that. So, under that are Rule 1, quality assurance, and then Rule 2 is the accreditation process. Okay? The Rule 3, performance monitoring of healthcare providers. Rule 4, outcome assessment. Rule 5, mechanism for feedback. Rule 6, health technology assessment. Rule 7, policy formulation and review. Title 6 is the creation of National Health Insurance Fund. Okay. Title 7, quasi-judicial powers of the corporation. Okay. PhilHealth has quasi-judicial power. Okay. It can hear controversies, especially concerning the members of PhilHealth, especially right now. when the COVID-19 package has been in issue. So that is why Philhealth is active in its enforcement, especially in its investigation. So it is part and parcel of this quasi judicial powers of Philhealth. And then Title 8, Rules of Procedure and Administrative Cases against Healthcare Providers and Members. So under this title, Rule 1, Complaints, Grounds, and Venues of Parties. How to make a complaint, what are the grounds, and where to file. And then Rule 2, Fact-Finding Investigation. Rule 3, Preliminary Investigation before the Prosecution Department. Rule 4, Contents of the formal complaint, like caption, what is content of the complaint, and etc. Rule 5, Procedure before the Arbitration Office. Rule 6, Appeal to the board. Okay, do not worry, I can provide you with this copy, or you can download it in the Philhealth website. Rule 7, Review of appealed administrative cases. And then Rule 8, Procedure before the board on appealed cases. Rule 9, Decision process. Rule 10, Entry of judgment. Rule 11, Execution of a decision. Rule 12, Writ of execution on institutional healthcare institutions. And then 13, Writ of execution on healthcare professionals. 14, Writ of executions on members. Okay, covers this topic. 15, Appeal to the Court of Appeals. Okay, the decision of Philhealth as a quasi-judicial body can be appealed to the Court of Appeals as a matter of procedure. And then Title 9, Definition of Administrative Offenses and Penalties. Okay, under this are the rule of offenses of healthcare institutions. For example, padding of claims, okay, ballooning the claims, claims for non-admitted or non-treated patient, okay, ghost patient, and so on and so forth. Post-dating of claims, extending period of confinement. These are fraudulent acts. Misrepresentation by furnishing false or incorrect information. Filing of multiple claims. Okay, we will discuss that when we reach that rule. And then Rule 2, offenses of healthcare professionals, like misrepresentation by false or incorrect information, breach of warranties of accreditation, okay, criminal liability. Rule 3, offenses of members, like fraudulent acts. Rule 4, classification of administrative offenses. Rule 5, general provisions. And then Title 10, the penal offenses and penalties. Rule 1, offenses of officers and employees of the corporation. Rule 2, offenses of employers. Rule 3, final provisions. And then Title 11, administrative remedies on healthcare providers and members. Okay? Under Rule 1, common provision like jurisdiction and the grievance and protests that are not covered. Rule 2, grievance against program implementors. Rule 3, grievance and appeals review committee. Rule 4, review of GARC decision or the decision of the body. Rule 5, administrative protest. Rule 6, construction and application. And then Title 12, the visitorial powers of the corporation. Okay, the Philhealth as an organization has visitorial powers. If companies or hospitals is compliant with the minimum requirements of Philhealth. And then Title 13, transitory provisions. Title 14, miscellaneous provisions. Okay? So that's so let's go to the law proper. So Title 1, guiding principles and objectives. Declaration of principles. So it is hereby declared the policy of the state to adopt an integrated and comprehensive approach to health development, which shall endeavor to make essential goods, health, and other social services available to all the people at affordable cost, and to provide free medical care to paupers or indigent. Towards this end, the state shall provide comprehensive healthcare services to all Filipinos through socialized health insurance program that will prioritize the healthcare needs of the underprivileged, the sick, the elderly, persons with disabilities, women and children, and provide free healthcare services to indigents. In pursuit of this principle, the implementing rules and regulations of the National Insurance Program, herein referred to as the program, shall adopt the following guiding principles. Okay, so these are the guiding principles of PhilHealth. Allocation of national resources for health. The program shall underscore the importance for government to give priority to health as a strategy for bringing about faster economic development and improving the quality of life. Okay? So right now, government funds are allocated, okay, uh, through COVID-19 packages. So that is how this provision operates. It gives power to PhilHealth in order to allocate governmental funds to its members. Next, universality. The program shall provide all citizens with the mechanism to gain financial access to health services in combination with other government health programs. The program shall give the highest priority to achieving coverage of the entire population with at least a basic minimum package of health insurance benefits. Okay? So in PhilHealth, there are medical health packages. We will discuss that shortly. Next is equity. The program shall provide for uniform basic benefits. Access to care must be a function of a person's health needs rather than the ability to pay. Okay? So, PhilHealth has this rule on equality. Whether you are rich, whether you are poor, the benefits are all the same. Next is responsiveness. The program shall adequately meet the needs for personal health services at various stages of a member's life. Next is social solidarity. The program shall be guided by community spirit. It must be enhanced risk sharing among income groups, age group, and persons of differing health status and residing in different geographic areas. Next is effectiveness. The program shall balance economical use of resources with quality of care. Next principle, innovation. The program shall adapt to changes in medical technology, health service organizations, healthcare providers, payment system, scopes of professional practice, and other trends in health sector. It must be cognizant of the appropriate roles and respective strength of the public and private sectors in healthcare, including the people's organizations and community-based healthcare organizations. Next is devolution. The program shall be implemented in consultation with local government units, subject to the overall policy directions set by the national government. Okay? So it is the national government who directs the programs of PhilHealth through Congress. Next is fiduciary responsibility. The program shall provide effective stewardship, fund management, and maintenance of reserves. Next principle is informed choice. The program shall encourage members to choose from among accredited healthcare providers. The corporation's local offices shall objectively apprise its members of the full range of providers involved in the program and of the services and privileges to which they are entitled as members. This explanation, which the members may use as guide in selecting the appropriate and most suitable provider, okay? Because there is an accreditation process, shall be given in clear and simple Filipino and in the local languages that are comprehensible to the members. Next principle is maximum community participation. The program shall build on existing community initiatives for its organization and human resource requirements. Next is the compulsory coverage. The program shall enroll all citizens of the Philippines in order to avoid adverse selection and social inequity. Next is the cost sharing, okay? The sharing of the premium based from the employee side and the employer side. The program shall continuously evaluate its cost-sharing schedule to ensure that costs borne by the members are fair and equitable, and that the charge by healthcare providers are reasonable. And then professional responsibility of healthcare providers. The program shall assure that all participating healthcare providers are responsible and accountable in all their dealings with the corporation and its members. Next is public health services. The program shall focus on the provision of benefit packages for personal health services, while the government shall provide public health services for all groups such as women, children, indigenous people, displaced communities, in environmentally endangered areas, while the program shall focus on the provisions of personal health services. Preventive and promotive health services are essential for reducing the need and spending of personal health services. Another principle is quality of services. The program shall promote the improvement in the quality of health services provided through the institutionalization of programs of quality assurance at all levels of the health services delivery system. The satisfaction of the community as well as individual beneficiaries shall be a determinant of quality of service delivery. Okay? So what is essential is the quality of service. And the next principle, cost containment. The program shall incorporate features of cost containment in its design and operations and provide viable means of helping the people pay for the healthcare services. And then lastly, last principle, care for the indigent. The program shall provide a basic package of needed personal health services to indigents through premium subsidy or through direct supervision from the government. Okay? So, because indigent has no money, it is the government that will pay in their behalf. Now, let's go to the general objectives. So, these implementing rule and regulations seeks to attain the objectives of the act, which are to provide all citizens of the Philippines with the mechanism to gain financial access to health services. Next, establish the program to serve as the means to help the people pay for healthcare services. And lastly, prioritize and accelerate the provision of health services to all Filipinos, especially that segment of the population who cannot afford these services. Of course, right now, being hospitalized is very expensive. That's why insurance is needed. Now, let's go to the Title 2 definition of terms. Okay, we'll just read some important definitions. So, who is an abandoned child? Children who have no known family willing and capable to take care of them and are under the care of Department of Social Welfare and Development or DSWD, like orphanages, church, and other institutions. Next, who are accreditation of healthcare providers. So it is a process whereby the qualification and capabilities of healthcare providers are verified in accordance with the guidelines, standards, and procedures set by the corporation or Philhealth for the purpose of conferring upon them the privilege of participating in the program and assuring that healthcare services rendered by them are of the desired and expected quality. Accreditation encompasses licensing or certification or pre-accreditation survey as applicable and their participation in the program. So these are this is the process whereby the doctor or the healthcare institution submit to PhilHealth their requirement in order to be accredited partners. So who are the accredited collecting agent? Any person, natural or juridical, accredited by the corporation to receive, account, and remit premium contributions of members. Okay, this can be banks or other collecting agencies. Also, PhilHealth has its own collecting um, department. So next term is automatic accreditation. Is the accreditation route of healthcare institutions that are licensed or certified by the Department of Health or other certifying body duly recognized by the Philippine Health Insurance Corporation or PhilHealth and has the opportunity to be accredited through basic participation with the program. These institutions do not require pre-accreditation survey. Automatic accreditation is likewise applicable to professional healthcare providers subject to compliance of requirements as determined by the corporation. So next term is the benefit package. These are services that the program offers to members subject to classification and qualification provided for in the rules. Okay? So right now, due to that pandemic, there is a COVID-19 package for COVID-19 victims. Another term, capitation. A payment mechanism where a fixed rate, whether per person, family, household, or group, is negotiated with a healthcare provider who shall be responsible for delivering or arranging for the delivery of healthcare services required by the covered person under the conditions of a healthcare provider contract. Okay? So there's a contract between the doctor and the members. Next term, case rate payment. A payment method also known as case-based payment that reimburses healthcare institutions a predetermined fixed rate for each stated case or disease. Next is contribution. The amount paid by or in behalf of a member to the program for coverage based on salaries or wage in the case of members in the formal economy and on household earnings and assets. In this case of the informal economy or on the criteria as may be defined by the corporation in accordance with the guiding principles set forth in Article 1 of the Act. Next term is the clinical practice guideline. Systematically developed statement based on best evidence intended to assist practitioners in making decisions about the appropriate management of specific clinical conditions or diseases. Okay. Another important term is dependent. Who are the dependent? The legal dependents of a member who are the first legitimate spouse who is not a member, okay? Because if you are a dependent, you are automatically covered as long as the member um, is qualified, okay? So here are the qualifications of a dependent. If you are the legitimate spouse who is not a member, you are automatically covered if your spouse is a qualified member. Next, unmarried and unemployed legitimated, acknowledged, illegitimate children and legally adopted or stepchildren below 21 years of age, okay? The minor children. Next, children who are 21 years old or above but suffering from congenital disability, either physical or mental, or any disability acquired that renders them totally dependent on the member for support as determined by the corporation. Okay? Those persons who are not minor but has a disability, either physical or mental. Next, foster children as defined in Republic Act 1016-5, otherwise known as the Foster Care of 2012. Next, parents who are 60 years old or above, not otherwise an enrolled member, whose monthly income is below an amount to be determined by the corporation in accordance with the guiding principle set forth in the Act. Lastly, parents with permanent disability regardless of age as determined by the corporation that renders them totally dependent on the member for subsistence. Okay? So if you belong in this list, then you are automatically covered as long as one member is qualified. Okay, the member of your family, like your father, your mother, and etc. Another term, enrollment, the process determined by the corporation to enlist individuals as members or dependents covered by the program. Next is fee for service, a fee predetermined by the corporation for each service delivered by a healthcare provider based on the bill. The payment system shall be based on pre-negotiated schedule promulgated by the corporation. Next is the global budget, an approach in the purchase of medical services by which healthcare providers negotiate the cost of providing a specific package of medical benefits based solely on a predetermined and fixed budget as determined by the corporation. Another important term, grievance, is a remedy as provided for in these rules where anyone aggrieved by any decision of the implementers of the program can avail of redress. Okay, you can file a complaint, can file a case. Another important term, gross negligence. The utter lack of care and diligence expected of a reasonable person, as evidenced by respondents' indifference or being oblivious to the danger of the injury to the person or property of others. Another important term, who are what are healthcare institutions? This refers to the health facilities that are accredited with Philhealth, which includes, among others, like hospital, ambulatory surgical clinics, TB dots, freestanding dialysis clinics, primary care benefits facilities, and maternity care package providers. Now, who is a healthcare provider under this act? So, refers to any of the following: a healthcare institution which is duly licensed or accredited, devoted primarily to the maintenance and operation of facilities for health promotion, prevention, diagnosis, treatment, and care of individuals suffering from illness, disease, injury, disability, or deformity, drug addiction, or in need of obstetrical or other medical and nursing care. It shall also be construed as any institution, building, or place where there are installed beds, cribs, or bassinets for 24-hour use or longer by patient in the treatment of disease, injuries, deformities, or abnormal physical and mental state, maternity cases or sanitarial care, or infirmaries, nurseries, dispensaries, rehabilitation centers, and such other similar names by which they may be designated. Okay, so these are the clinics, whether it's a nursery, a rehabilitation center, and so on and so forth. Next, a healthcare professional who is any doctor of medicine, nurse, midwife, dentist, pharmacist, or other healthcare professional or practitioner duly licensed to practice in the Philippines and accredited by the corporation. Next, a health maintenance organization or HMO, which is an entity that provides, offers, or arranges for coverage of designated healthcare services needed by plan members for fixed prepaid premium. Okay? Lastly, a community-based healthcare organization, which is an association of members of the community organized for the purpose of improving the health status of that member through preventive, promotive, and curative health services. Okay? So, the following are considered to be healthcare providers. Okay? Just a matter of reading. Next is another term, health system providers. So the organization of people, institutions, and resources that deliver healthcare services to meet the health needs of target population that may be accredited, subject to the guidelines set forth by the corporation. This includes, among others, like interlocal health zones, healthcare facility network, and managed and owned by the provincial, city, and or municipal government. Okay? For example, the barrio clinics, okay? Municipal clinics. Next term, home care and medical rehabilitation services. So, skilled nursing care, which members get in their homes, clinics for the treatment of an illness or injury that severely affects their activities or daily living. Home care and rehabilitation services include hospice or palliative care for people who are terminally ill but does not include custodial and non-skilled personal care. Another important term, indigent. Who is an indigent? A person who has no visible means of income or whose income is insufficient for family subsistence, as identified by the DSWD based on specific criteria set forth for this purpose in accordance with the guiding principle set forth in Article 1 of this Act. Okay? LGUs or local government units. These are provinces, cities, municipalities, and barangays where an enrolled member reside. Next, who is a member? Any person whose premium contributions have been regularly paid to the program, who may be paying member, an indigent member, or a sponsored member, or a lifetime member, or otherwise known as covered member. Next, what is an outcome assessment? It is the process of monitoring and reviewing outcomes resulting from the healthcare services rendered by accredited providers. Information that can result from an outcome assessment includes knowledge and attitude changes, short-term or intermediate behavior shifts, reduction of morbidity and mortality, satisfaction of patients with care and cost, among others. Okay. Next term, participation to the program. It is a process whereby a healthcare provider commits to provide quality healthcare services to program members and dependents as stipulated in a performance commitment. All services provided shall receive reimbursement from Philhealth. Another important term, peer review. It is a process by which the quality of uh, healthcare provided to program members or the performance of a healthcare professional is reviewed by professional colleagues of comparable training and experience, either within the professional organization or hospital or within the corporation itself when commissioned by the corporation to undertake the same. The result of the said review can be utilized as basis for quality intervention and or payment or non-payment of claims. Okay? This is also used for accreditation of said institutions or doctors. Next is the PhilHealth employer number. This is the permanent and unique number issued by the corporation to registered employers who may either be juridical or natural persons, okay? Because employers has a share, okay? Should give a share um, in PhilHealth in behalf of their members. And then PhilHealth identification number, the permanent and unique number issued by the corporation to individual members and to each and every dependent. And then PhilHealth card, PhilHealth National Formulary. Okay? So, Philippine National Formulary, the essential drugs list of the Philippines, which is prepared by the Department of Health in consultation with the experts and specialists from organized professional medical societies, the academe, and the pharmaceutical industry, and which is updated regularly. Okay, so these are the essential drugs of the Philippines, which is listed by the Department of Health. Next term, portability. The enablement of a member and their dependent to avail program benefits in an area outside the jurisdiction of the member's PhilHealth office. Okay. Next term, pre-accreditation service. It's a process of assessing healthcare institutions that are not automatically accredited as defined by the corporation, as well as those applying for advanced participation. This includes, among others, on-site observation, evaluation of the pertinent document, and interview of personnel and patients. Next, prescription drug. A drug which has been approved by the Food and Drug Administration and which can only be dispensed pursuant to a prescription in order from a provider who is duly licensed to do so. Next, professional practitioner includes doctors, lawyers, certified public accountants, and other practitioners required to pass government licensure examinations in order to practice their profession. Another important term, program implementer. Any official or employee of the corporation who in the general conduct of the operations and management of functions of the corporation is charged with the implementation of the program and the enforcement of the provision of the NHI Act of 1995 as amended. These rules and other administrative issuances related thereto, including officials and employees of other institutions who are duly authorized by virtue of a memorandum of agreement to exercise any of the powers vested in the corporation to implement the program. Okay, so these are the employees of PhilHealth. Next important term, quality assurance. A formal set of activities to review and ensure the quality of services provided. It includes quality assessment and corrective actions to remedy any deficiency identified in the quality of patient care, administrative, and support services. Another term, retiree, refers to a member of the program who has reached the age of retirement as provided by law or who was retired on account of permanent disability as certified by the employer and the corporation. Okay? Another important term is third-party accreditation. Is the accreditation of healthcare institutions by a third party, duly recognized and authorized by Philhealth, exclusive of the decision-making function to grant or deny accreditation program. Okay? So, third parties are not part of Philhealth. However, they are granted power in order to decide whether to grant or deny the accreditation program. Okay? And then last term, utilization review. A formal review of health resource utilization or of the appropriateness of healthcare services on a prospective, concurrent, or retrospective basis. Now, let's go to membership and contribution. Rule 1, coverage. So, Section 4, the objective of this coverage. All Filipinos shall be mandatorily covered under the program. Okay, it is mandatory. It is one of the basic benefit. Okay, the basic benefit in the labor codes for employees are: one, PhilHealth; second, Pag-ibig; third, SSS. Okay, and then other minimum labor standard benefits. So, in accordance with the principles of universality and compulsory coverage enunciated in Section 2B and 2I of the Act, implementation of the program shall ensure sustainability of coverage and continuous enhancement of the quality of service. So, the program shall be compulsory in all provinces, cities, and municipalities nationwide. Okay? The entire Philippine island. Notwithstanding the existence of LGU-based health insurance programs, the corporation, DOH, LGUs, and other agencies, including non-government organizations or NGOs, and other national government agencies, shall ensure that the members in such localities shall have access to quality and cost-effective healthcare services. Okay? Next, the nature and scope. So the program shall cover the following members and their dependents, as discussed in the previous pages. So members in the formal economy. So those with formal contracts and fixed terms of employment, including workers in the government and private sector, whose premium contribution payments are equally shared by the employee and the employer. Okay? So this is just a rundown. So who are considered to be members in the formal economy? These are government employees, okay? Private employees, all other workers rendering services, whether in government or private offices, such as job order contractors, project-based contractors, and the like, owners of micro enterprises, owners of small, medium, and large enterprises, household help, okay, the household helpers, as defined in Republic Act 1036-1 or the Kasambahay Law, okay? So even household helpers are covered. They are mandatorily covered. Family drivers are also covered. Okay? Next, members in the informal economy. So this sector would include but are not limited to the following. So these are persons who are included in the informal economy. Migrant workers, informal sector, okay? Those who belong among others in like street hawkers, market vendors, pedicab and tricycle drivers, small construction workers, and home-based industries and services. Next, next member of the informal economy are self-earning individuals, okay? Next, Filipinos with dual citizenship. Next, naturalized Filipino citizens. Next, citizens of other countries working and or residing in the Philippines. Okay? Foreign citizens with valid working permits and or alien certificate of registrations working and or residing in the Philippines. Okay, they are covered because they are considered informal economy members. Next, the indigent. Next are the sponsored members. Next are the lifetime members. So who are considered lifetime members? A member who has reached the age of retirement under the law and has paid at least 120 monthly premium contributions. Lifetime members shall include but not limited to the following. Retirees, pensioners from the government sectors, okay? Next, retirees, pensioners from the private sectors. And then uniformed members of the AFP, PNP, BGMP, and BFP. And then members of Philhealth who have reached the age of retirement as provided by law and have not met the required premium contribution of at least 120 months, regardless of their employers or sponsors' arrears in contribution and is not included in the sponsored programs nor declared as dependents by their spouse or children. Okay? Now, functions. To achieve its objective, the corporation shall undertake the following. So, these are the functions of PhilHealth. Require the enrollment and coverage of all citizens of the Philippines under the program. Okay? Mandatory requirement. Coordinate with DSWD, DILG, DOH, LGUs or local governments, and other stakeholders for the enrollment and coverage of identified indigents, sponsored members, and those members in the informal economy from the lower segment who do not qualify for full subsidy under the means test rule of the DSWD. Okay? So there is a standard, the means test rule, which is used by DSWD. Next function, ensure that all government entities, including LGUs, issuing professional or business license or permit, shall require all applicants to submit certificate or proof of payment of PhilHealth premium contributions prior to the issuance of renewal of such license or permit. Next, encourage association, charitable institutions, cooperatives, private nonprofit health insurance organizations, associations, or individuals to mobilize the funds for the enrollment of as many persons who cannot afford to pay premium contribution. Next, establish an efficient premium collection mechanism, okay, in partnership with collecting agencies like banks or third party collecting agencies, okay? For example, iPay centers. Next, establish and maintain an updated membership and contribution database. Next function, conduct information campaigns on the principles of the program to the public and private accredited healthcare providers. This campaign must include the current benefit packages provided by the corporation, the mechanisms to avail of the current benefit packages, the list of accredited and disaccredited healthcare providers, and the list of offices, branches, where members can pay or check the status of paid health premiums. Okay? So in the record, you can see, they have in their custody the records of who are the accredited institutions or medical doctor who can avail of the benefits in Philhealth. Okay. Lastly, to establish an office or where it is not feasible, designate a local person in every Philippine consular office in all countries where there are Filipino citizens. The office or the focal person shall, among others, process, review, and pay the claims of the migrant workers. Now, rule number 2, general provisions concerning all members. So, PhilHealth identification number and health insurance card. So, if you are a member, you are given a permanent PhilHealth identification number and ID card. Okay? And then the procedure for replacement if case it is lost. Requirement for registration of members and dependents. So, a person intending to register with the program regardless of membership category shall submit to the corporation a properly accomplished prescribed membership registration form whereby the member shall certify the truthfulness and accuracy of the information provided, including the list of declared qualified legal dependents. If warranted, the corporation may require submission of supporting documents. The same process shall be maintained for amendments, revision to any submitted data of the member and or dependents. So who are emancipated individuals or single parent? Any person below 21 years of age, married or unmarried, but with a child, shall be enrolled as a member, okay? Because they are considered emancipated individual or single parent. And then the remittance of premium effectivity. Now let's go to the specific provision concerning members in the formal economy. So this is the procedure for registration of employers. All government and private sector employers are required to register with the corporation and each shall be issued a permanent and unique PhilHealth employer number. So again, you are given a permanent number if you are the employer. Okay? So here are the requirements for the accreditation. Okay? Like the DTI, the SEC, and so on and so forth. And then employer data amendment and revision. So what are the obligations of the employer? All government and private employers are required to register their employees and their qualified dependents by submitting a list of their employees complete with their salary base and other documents as may be required because premium is calculated based on the salary. I think 5% of the salary. Next, report to the corporation its newly hired employees within 30 days, 30 calendar days from assumption of office. Next, give notice to the corporation of an employee's separation within 30 calendar days from separation. Next, keep true and accurate work records for such period and containing such information as the corporation may prescribe. Next, allow the inspection of its premises, including its books and other pertinent records. Okay? So, rates of the premium contribution, 5% of the respective basic monthly salaries. Okay? Next, mandatory appropriation of premium contribution for government agency. Then payment of premium contribution. So these are just matters of reading, guys. I will give you a copy or you can download it directly to the Philhealth website because this law, okay, is very important, especially nowadays where um, people are reliant to insurance. Okay, the COVID-19 package is very high. I think 700,000 if you are infected of COVID-19. And then remittance of premiums for employees with income gaps, matter of reading, premium payment of government and private employee members with multiple employment. So if you have multiple employment, this rule will apply. Members engaged in multiple employment in the government and private sector whose aggregate monthly premium contribution exceeds the maximum rate in the prescribed premium contribution schedule may request for an adjustment of personal share subject to the guidelines to be issued by the corporation. Okay? Now, rule number 4 is specific provisions concerning the kasambahay or house helpers. Okay, again, the employers of the kasambahay must enroll the house helpers to Philhealth. And then premium payment of household helpers. So the annual premium contribution of household helps shall be fully paid in accordance with the provisions of Republic Act number 10361 or the Kasambahay Law. Okay? So we must refer to this law in order to know the payment of premium of the kasambahay to Philhealth. Rule 5, specific provisions concerning members in the informal economy. So when you say informal economy, those persons that we have discussed in the previous pages, okay? Like the indigent, the migrant workers, and so on and so forth. So contributions of members in the informal economy shall be based primarily on the household earnings and asset. Next is the cessation from formal employment or coverage of indigent, sponsored member, or migrant worker. And then retroactive payment of contribution, enrollment of citizens of other countries working in the Philippines. Okay, let us read this section because in the Philippines there are many foreigners working here. So citizens of other countries working in the Philippines may be allowed coverage in the program provided that their countries have existing reciprocity agreements with the Philippines, subject to additional guidelines as may be prescribed by the corporation. Okay? Depends upon the reciprocity agreement with the Philippines and your country of origin. Now, rule number 6, specific provisions concerning indigents, okay? So, identification and enrollment of indigent. Once again, there are requirements in DSWD. Okay, payment of premium, women as primary members. So, the female spouse of the families identified by DSWD may be designated as the primary member of the program. you are an indigent. So data sharing on the list of indigent and their dependents, that's an interagency transaction. Now, let's go to the specific provisions concerning sponsored members, okay? So payment for sponsored members contribution. Matter of reading. Then specific provision concerning lifetime members, okay? Provision on making Philhealth a requisite for issuance, renewal of license and permits. So requisite for issuance or renewal of license or permits. Among the powers and functions of the corporation and notwithstanding any law to the contrary, all government entities, including LGUs, issuing professional or business license or permits shall require all applicants to submit a certificate or proof of payment of PhilHealth premium contributions as prerequisite to the issuance or renewal of such license or permit. Now, let us go to a very important provision of this law, benefit entitlements. Okay, so objective. The program aims to provide its members with responsive benefit packages. In view of this, the corporation shall continuously endeavor to improve its benefit package to meet the needs of its members. Function. To achieve the above objective, the corporation shall undertake the following: introduce additional benefit items and improve those already being provided, develop the appropriate provider payment mechanisms, continuously improve the system for benefit availment, and strictly monitor the implementation of benefit availment. So, in this section are the benefit package. Members and their dependents are entitled to the following minimum services, subject to the limitations specified in the Act and as may be determined by the corporation. So, inpatient care, room and board is covered. Services of healthcare professionals covered. Diagnostic, laboratory, and other medical examination services, use of surgical or medical equipment and facilities, prescription drugs and biologicals, subject to the limitation of the Act, and health education. Okay? So, these are all covered. If outpatient and medical surgical care, services of healthcare professionals are covered, diagnostic laboratory and other medical services, personal preventive services, prescription drugs and biologicals, subject to the limitation of the Act, and health education. And then emergency and transfer services is covered. Health education packages covered. Such other healthcare services that the corporation and the DOH shall determine to be appropriate and cost effective. Okay? For example, right now, the COVID-19, it has a COVID-19 package. So if you are sick due to COVID-19, then you are covered, I think, in the amount of 700 plus thousand. So these services and packages shall be reviewed annually to determine its financial sustainability and relevance to health innovations with the end in view of quality assurance, increased benefits, and reduce out-of-pocket expenditure. Such review shall include actuarial studies. Okay. Now, Section 38, excluded personal health services. The corporation shall not cover expenses for health services which the corporation and DOH consider cost ineffective through health technology assessment. Okay, they will make a study. And if the corporation or PhilHealth determines it to be ineffective, then it can be removed in their coverage. The corporation may institute additional exclusions and limitations as it may deem reasonable in keeping with its protection, objective, and financial sustainability. And then Section 39, entitlement of benefits. Okay? So members and or their dependent are entitled to avail of the benefits if either of the following is met. First, paid premium contribution for at least 3 months within 6 months prior to the first day of availment. Okay? So you should pay at least 3 months contribution before the 6 months availment of the package. And then paid in full the required premium for the calendar year. In addition, the member is not currently subject to legal penalty of suspension as provided for in Section 44 of the Act and has paid the premium with sufficient regularity. The corporation may issue other requirements for entitlement to benefit as it deems appropriate. Then the following need not pay the monthly contributions to be entitled to the program's benefits. Okay? Retirees and pensioners of SSS and GSIS prior to March 4, 1995. They are considered exempted to pay monthly premiums. Members of Philhealth who have reached the age of retirement as provided for by law and not gainfully employed or continuing their practice as professional and have met the required premium contributions of at least 120 months. Section 40, continuation of entitlement to benefit in case of death of member. So in case of death of the member, the dependents of the deceased member shall continue to avail of the benefits for the unexpired portion of the coverage or until the end of the calendar year, whichever comes first. So in this section, benefits of members and their dependents confined abroad. So even if you are confined abroad, you are still covered, okay? Especially those dependents who are confined abroad. Now, rule number 2 is payment of claims. Okay? So, provider payment mechanism. Either fee for service payments, case rate payments, global budget. And then Section 43, no balance billing for indigent and government healthcare institutions because they are exempted. Next, payment for healthcare professionals and healthcare institutions. Just a matter of reading, guys. We will just discuss important provisions. Okay, reimbursement and period to file claims. So all claims for the reimbursement or payment for services rendered shall be filed within a period of 60 calendar days from the date of discharge of the patient from the healthcare provider. The period to file claim may be extended for reasonable causes as may be determined by the corporation. Next is guidelines on claims payment. Okay, so here are the guidelines. Just a matter of reading. It's very long. And then capitation arrangement. All capitation arrangement shall be covered by performance commitment by and between the corporation and the concerned accredited healthcare provider. Okay? So when you say capitation, there is a contract between the healthcare personnel, the healthcare provider and the member. Okay? However, such contract must be accredited by or sanctioned by Philhealth. And then disposition of capitation payments. Title 5 is quality assurance and accreditation. Okay? So the objectives. So the corporation shall implement a quality assurance program applicable to all healthcare providers for the delivery of health services nationwide. This program shall ensure that the health services rendered to the members by accredited healthcare providers are of quality necessary to achieve the desired health outcome and members' satisfaction. So, matters of reading. Function. It's very long. Finance policy research. Now, the accreditation. So, types of accreditation. Accreditation shall be of the following types. Initial accreditation, okay? Continuous accreditation, reaccreditation, and then reinstatement of accreditation, okay? So that's the requirements. Participation to the program, matter of reading. Healthcare providers. The following healthcare providers shall be accredited before they can participate in the program. Healthcare institutions like hospitals, outpatient clinics like rural health units or health centers, dispensaries or infirmaries, birthing homes or facilities, okay? Medical outpatient clinics, other primary care facilities licensed by DOH, freestanding dialysis clinics, ambulatory surgical clinics, HMOs, community-based healthcare organizations, pharmacies, and other care institutions licensed by DOH. And then healthcare professionals like physicians, dentists, nurses, midwife, pharmacists, and other duly healthcare professionals. So accreditation requirement for healthcare institutions. Okay. So the following requirements shall apply to healthcare institutions in appropriate cases. They must have been operating for at least 3 years prior to initial application for the accreditation with a good track record in the provision of healthcare services. The date of reckoning of the 3-year operation requirement shall be the effectivity date of either the initial license, clearance to operate, certificate, or other proof of operation issued by DOH or other pertinent government agencies if applicable. HCI that have temporarily stopped operations due to upgrading, expansion, and change of ownership or any other causes shall have their length of operation computed on a cumulative basis from the date of initial operation of the former country of the former institution. Next, they must be licensed, certified by DOH, and then they must comply with the provisions of the performance commitment. They must have their own ongoing formal program of quality assurance that satisfy the corporation standards and any other requirements that may be determined by the corporation. So exemption of the 3-year operation. Okay. So a HCI that does not qualify for the provisions of the 3-year operation requirement may still apply and qualify for initial accreditation if it meets the following condition. Its managing healthcare professional has a working experience in another accredited health care institution for at least 3 years, or a graduate of hospital administration or any related degree. If the managing healthcare professional leaves the accredited healthcare institution within the initial year of accreditation, the accreditation shall be withdrawn effective on the date of vacancy. Next, it operates as a tertiary facility or its equivalent. Next, it's operate in an LGU where the accredited HCI cannot adequately or fully service its population. Next, its service capability is not currently available in the LGU. Okay, and other requirements. So the following healthcare institutions shall be exempted from the 3-year operation requirement. If primary care benefit providers with or without outpatient malaria package, TB dose providers, non-hospital maternity care package providers, animal bite treatment providers, and such other healthcare facilities as may be determined by the corporation. Okay, the accreditation requirement, guidelines on the accreditation of healthcare institutions. Okay. Then the third party accreditation to Hospital Accreditation Commission. So the corporation shall develop a policy for the implementation of third-party accreditation to the Hospital Accreditation Commission. Okay, these are not parts. These agencies are not parts of the Philhealth, but they are given the authority to grant or deny said accreditation requirements. And then accreditation requirements for physicians, dentists, nurses, midwives, pharmacists, and other licensed healthcare providers. So physicians, dentists, nurses, midwives, and pharmacists, and other licensed healthcare professionals shall comply with the following requirements to be accredited. They must be duly licensed to practice in the Philippines by PRC. They must be members of the program with qualifying premium contributions. They must comply with the provisions set forth in the performance commitment for professionals, and they must comply with any of other requirements that may be determined by the corporation. So no accreditation fee shall be imposed by the corporation for healthcare professionals and shall not require a certificate of good standing or such other analogous certification for them to be accredited. Finding on ethical issues by disciplinary bodies of accredited professional organizations of the Professional Regulation Commission or specialty societies recognized by the Philippine Medical Association or PMA in the case of medical specialists shall be considered in assessing the performance of healthcare professionals. Suspension of membership in such professional organization shall be given due consideration in assessing the continued accreditation of such professional. Okay? So these regulatory bodies or organizations which the physician or other allied professionals are members are to be given weight if they were sanctioned by these agencies. Okay, their accreditation can be removed due to these sanctions. Next, process of accreditation for healthcare professionals. And then grounds for denial, non-reinstatement of accreditation. Okay, like non-compliance with any or all of the requirements, revocation or non-renewal or non-issuance of license and accreditation, and so on and so forth. Rule 3, performance monitoring of healthcare providers. Okay, so the Philhealth relies on other organization like PRC or the PMA with regards to doctors and other organizational body. Okay, like Philippine Nurses Association, pharmacy member group for pharmacists or dentists, and so on and so forth. Okay, performance monitoring system for healthcare providers. Just a matter of reading. Outcome assessment, mechanism for feedback. So the corporation shall establish a mechanism aimed at improving quality of service and to periodically inform healthcare providers, program and administrators, and the public of the performance of accredited healthcare provider. The corporation shall make known to the general public information on the performance of accredited healthcare providers, as well as those whose accreditation has been suspended or revoked. Then the health technology assessment. Okay. So the corporation shall use health technology assessment to examine the medical, economic, social, and ethical implications of use of the health technology in order to support its benefits and quality assurance policies within the context of actual needs, current standards of medical practice, and national health objectives. The corporation shall do this in partnership with DOH, academe, government, medical professional organization, and other stakeholders. The outputs of HTA shall be one of the basis for inclusion or non-inclusion of health technologies in the benefit package. And then policy formulation and review. Okay. Title 4, creation of the National Health Insurance Fund. Financial management. Okay. And then rule number 2, the reserve fund. Just a matter of reading, guys. Do not worry, because this is part of our lecture. That's why we need to discuss this. However, uh, we'll just have a rundown, okay, on the important points, because doctors really needs to have a working knowledge with regards to the rules and regulations of Philhealth. And then funds for lifetime members and supplemental benefits, matter of readings. Philhealth, being a government agency, has quasi-judicial powers. Okay? They can hear cases or controversies, especially now, especially now that members of Philhealth have issue with regards to contribution and other monetary issues. Okay? The board as a quasi-judicial body, quorum, so prosecutors, arbiters, and investigating officers of the corporation. Okay, just matters of reading. And then authority of the investigating officers of the corporation. So investigating officers shall exercise, among others, the powers and functions enumerated under Section 10 of RA 7875 as amended, and to administer oath in the performance of their official functions and duties. Okay? Also, uh, these officers, these investigating officers has the power to investigate the accredited uh, medical institutions or healthcare providers. For example, right now there is an issue with COVID package because some hospitals declare patients as COVID positive, where in fact in reality they died with different disease or due to accident. So that is why it is important for these investigating officers to be good or adept in their job in order to file cases against these erring medical institutions or medical practitioners. So rules of procedure on administrative cases against healthcare providers and members. So who may file? Anybody who are aggrieved. Okay. Where to file? Depends upon the jurisdiction. Fact-finding investigation. Complaints filed before the legal office. Preliminary investigation. Okay. These are criminal acts. Directive to answer. These are the procedure. So contents of the formal complaint. So the formal complaint must contain the name and address of the complainant, the name and addresses of the respondents, a clear and concise statement of the cause or causes of action, then the relief sought, and then procedure before the arbitration office for compromise agreements. Okay. Verified answer within 15 days. Default if you're not able to answer the complaint. Your affidavits and position papers in order to justify your claim or for evidence purposes. Trial, powers of the arbiter. Just a matter of reading, guys. Non-appearance of parties at hearing, okay? They can be defaulted. postponement of hearing, then appeal to the board if the respondent is aggrieved by the decision. For example, a certain hospital, due to their acts, their accreditation was removed and license was revoked. Okay? So if the hospital believes that the board has mistakenly decided against their favor, they can appeal the decision of the board to the court, like the Court of Appeals or the Appellate Board, and etc. Okay. Perfection of appeal, period to appeal. These are just matters of reading. All of this can be found in the Philhealth website. As a medical doctor practicing in the Philippines, you must be knowledgeable of the provisions of this law. Okay, decision process, entry of judgment, if the judgment has become final and executory. Okay, writ of execution, if the respondent will not pay, then a writ of execution may ensue in order to compel him, okay, to pay in a form of damages. Report, writ of execution, report, appeal to the Court of Appeals, okay, if the respondent is aggrieved with the decision of the board. Definition of administrative offenses and penalties, okay. Let us discuss this very common practice, padding of claims. Any healthcare institutions who, for the purpose of claiming payment from the program, files a claim for benefits which are in excess of the benefits actually provided by adding drugs, medicines, supplies, procedures, and services. Okay? Very common in hospitals, especially in far-flung places. Okay? If the patient who is admitted, member of Philhealth, okay, and then discharge, for example, discharge within the day of confinement, they let them sign a document. For example, in the document, they place there the services provided or the medications given, and then they let them sign at the bottom of the document. Okay, so upon signature, of course, this member is covered in PhilHealth. So, of course, when the member leaves, doesn't know anything after that. So, the hospital will put insertions, okay? Because the patient signed at the bottom and there's still many, you know, um, vacant places in the papers. So, of course, that certain hospital will insert different drugs, different services conducted or laboratories conducted after the patient has signed that claim. Okay, so that is one modus operandi of hospitals. I mean, not all, maybe some. That is why the enforcement power or visitorial power of PhilHealth is very important, especially their partnership with other agencies like NGOs or government organizations like PRC or DOH and so on and so forth. Claims for non-admitted or non-treated patients, another modus, okay? This is committed by any healthcare institutions who, for the purpose of claiming payment from the program, files a claim for non-admitted or non-treated patients. Okay? So even though the member has not been treated or not admitted, they will put in their claim that these persons were admitted and treated. Okay? So making it appear that the patient was actually confined or treated in the healthcare institution or using such other machinations that would result in claims for non-admitted or non-treated patient. Okay, just like what I said before, in the claim form, they let the patient sign. It's empty. But when they submit it in Philhealth, it's already full. So that is why that's the illegal acts of hospitals. Okay, that's why it must be investigated. Enforcement powers of Philhealth should be strong. Okay, in order to put fear in the hearts of these institutions. Next, extending period of confinement, another illegal act. This is committed by any healthcare institutions who, for the purpose of claiming payment from the program, files a claim with extended period of confinement by increasing the period of actual confinement of any patient, continuously charting entries in the doctor's order, nurse's notes, and observations despite actual discharge or absence of the patient, using such other machinations that would result in the unnecessary extension of the confinement. Another illegal act, post-dating of claims. Any healthcare institutions who, for purpose of claiming payment from the program, files a claim for payment of services rendered not within 60 calendar days from the date of discharge of the patient or such other prescriptive period as the corporation may issue, but makes it appear so by changing, erasing, adding to the period of confinement, or in any manner altering dates so as to conform with the adopted prescriptive period. Next is misrepresentation by furnishing false or incorrect information. Okay? Any healthcare institution shall be liable for fraudulent practice when for the purpose of participation in program or claiming payment therefrom, it furnishes false or incorrect information concerning any matter required by RA 7875 as amended by this rule. This offense covers or includes but is not limited to the following acts involving benefit claims for case rate payment: code substitution, claiming for unrelated illness or procedure with higher benefit payment in lieu of actual illness or procedure. Okay? Very typical nowadays in this pandemic. The COVID-19 package is being okay, being used. That's why even persons who died due to heart attack or who died due to vehicular accident, they place it in the record as COVID positive in order to claim the COVID-19 package. And that is an illegal act. Okay? And then upcoding or upcasing or diagnosis creeping or procedure creeping, claiming for a related illness or procedure of higher severity or complexity to gain higher benefit payment. Next, adding a non-existing condition in the diagnosis in order to receive higher payment benefit. Another act, okay, filing of multiple claims. Any healthcare institutions who file 2 or more claims for a patient for the same confinement or outpatient treatment or illness. Another is unjustified admission beyond accredited bed capacity. Any private healthcare institution who, for the purpose of claiming payment from the program, files claims for patient confined in excess of its accredited bed capacity at any given time without justification in the form and manner prescribed by the corporation. Another illegal acts, unauthorized operation beyond service capability. Any primary care facility which performs a surgical operation beyond its authorized capability, except when the operation is done in an emergency to save life and referral to a higher category provider is physically impossible. Next, fabrication or possession of fabricated forms and supporting documents. Any healthcare institutions who is found preparing claims with misrepresentations or false entries, or to be in possession of claim forms, other documents with false entries, okay? That institution can be held liable. And then other fraudulent acts. Any healthcare institution shall also be liable for the following fraudulent acts: making it appear that the patient suffered from a compensable illness or underwent a compensable procedure, when in truth and in fact, the patient was okay. It's never sick. Next, failure or refusal to give benefits due to qualified members or dependents. Next, charging qualified patients for medicines and or services which are legally chargeable to and covered by the program. Okay? This is a form of unjust enrichment, double collection, okay? Double payment by the member and the Philhealth. So that is a fraudulent act. Next, failure or refusal to refund to the member the payment received from the program within a period of 30 days from the date of receipt of the refund check from the corporation, when the hospital charges and professional fees are fully paid in advance by the member. And then failure or refusal to accomplish and submit the required forms in connection with letter D. And then failure or refusal to provide the members with the required forms for direct filing of claims, billing statements, official receipts, and other documents required or necessary for filing of the claims, or the deliberate failure or refusal to comply with the requirements of RA 7875 as amended and by these rules. And then breach of warranties and accreditation performance commitment. Any healthcare institutions who commits any breach of the warranties of accreditation performance commitment can be held liable. And then the criminal liability. In addition, a criminal complaint shall be filed against the officials of the hearing institutional health care providers before the appropriate office of the prosecutor for violation of these rules and or the revised penal code. Okay. Now let's go to the offenses of healthcare professionals. Misrepresentation by false or incorrect information. Any Any healthcare professional shall be liable for fraudulent practice when, for purposes of participation in the program or payment from the corporation, furnishes false or incorrect information concerning any matter required by RA 7875 as amended by the rules. This offense covers or includes but is not limited to the following acts involving benefit claims for case rate payment. A. Code substitution, claiming for unrelated illness or procedure with higher benefit payment in lieu of actual illness or procedure. Okay? The same with the hospital. Next, upcoding or upcasing or diagnosis creeping or procedure creeping, claiming for a related illness or procedure of higher severity or complexity to gain higher benefit payment. And then adding a non-existing condition in the diagnosis in order to receive higher benefit payment. Okay? So another illegal act, breach of warranties of accredited performance commitment. Any healthcare professional found to have committed any breach of warranties of accreditation or performance commitment can be held liable. And then other violations, any other willful or negligent act or omission of the healthcare professionals in violation of this law, which tends to undermine or defeat the objectives of the program, shall be dealt with in accordance of this law. And of course, criminal liability. In addition, a criminal complaint shall be filed against the hearing healthcare professionals before the appropriate office of the prosecutor for violation of this rule and or the revised penal code. And then offenses of members, fraudulent acts. Any member who, for purposes of claiming PhilHealth benefits or entitlement thereto, shall commit any of the offenses provided in this section 150 to 159 and sections 162 and 164 hereof, independently or in connivance with the healthcare provider. Okay? So they are in conspiracy with the healthcare provider or the healthcare institution. Then criminal liability. In addition, a criminal complaint shall be filed against the members before the office of the prosecutor for the appropriate offenses under the revised penal code. Okay, so classification of administrative offenses, non-fraudulent offenses, like the breach of warranty, filing of multiple claims, unjustified admission, unauthorized operation. And then fraudulent offenses, the padding of claims, okay? Claims for non-admitted or non-treated patients, extending period of confinement, post-dating of claims, misrepresentation by false or incorrect information, misrepresentation by furnishing false or incorrect information, fabrication or possession of fabricated forms and supporting documents, and other for fraudulent acts, okay? So here are the penalty or the fine. Okay, up to 100,000. Maximum is 100,000, minimum is 50,000. So minimal. So mitigating and aggravating circumstance. The following circumstance shall affect the gravity of the violation and the liability of erring healthcare provider. So when you say mitigating circumstance, it relaxes the penalty. So the following circumstance shall mitigate the liability. Voluntary admission of guilt, good track record, or if it's a first offense. Aggravating circumstance, it increases the penalty. The following circumstance shall aggravate the liability: previous conviction of an offense provided for in these rules, connivance or conspiracy to facilitate the commission of the crime, or gross negligence, and such other similar circumstance that mitigate or aggravate the violation and liability of the healthcare provider as may be determined by the arbitration office or the board, as the case may be. Okay, imposition of penalties, application or suspension of revocation. The penal offenses, okay? All who are criminally liable is also civilly liable. Okay? So, like what I've discussed for physicians, in this law, there is also a three-pronged liability: administrative liability, removal of your accreditation, and other perks from this law. Criminal liability, you can be in prison due to fraudulent acts. Civil liability, you can pay in a form of damages, okay, due to those acts. And also in administrative case, in administrative liability, you can also pay fine, okay, as high as 100,000. Okay. Offenses of employers, failure or refusal to register or deduct contribution. Failure or refusal to remit contribution, unlawful deductions, institution as offender, reports on violation by employers, affidavit complaint, preparation and filing affidavit complaint. Okay, these are the procedures. The final provision of this law, execution of penalty. Okay. Administrative remedies. So just matters of reading, guys. Okay. Just make a rundown of this law. Okay, this law is very important because this serves as our national okay, insurance of all Filipinos, even foreigners, if you are working here. So just have a working knowledge in order to apply the provision of this law. Okay? And it is very important to have knowledge also in order to help the members or the employees and to how to use this law in its full benefit. Okay? So for now, that ends our discussion in PhilHealth, and we still have more topics to be discussed. So if you have any questions, feel free to message me. Okay? I will upload this in my YouTube because this topic is encompassing. I can discuss this in medical jurisprudence. I can discuss this in medical ethics. Okay? Because of the provisions which involves this law. So guys, thank you and God bless us all.